We were flying parallel to the border, just 3 to 4 kilometers away. Everything was fine until a missile launched from Russian territory. The plane split in two. What saved me was the armored cockpit capsule.
The Su-25 is tough, like an old soldier. Built for war, not parades. But the harsh truth is, Su-25s fly dangerously low, and that makes them easy targets.
There's no such thing as a mission without enemy fire, either from aircraft or from the ground. We're constantly maneuvering. We're always playing tag.
As Su-25 pilots like to joke, if enemy air defenses aren't shooting at you, you're probably doing something wrong. And when you lose this deadly game of tag, the last thing you can do is pull the lever and eject. But even then, your fight's just beginning.
As ground attack pilots, we can't afford to get captured. We know exactly what could happen to us.
That's why a pistol can be the difference between survival and capture.
Ever since I got shot down, I always carry not one, but 2 pistols, one Makarov and one APS.
But this pilot story proves, getting shot down and landing in enemy territory isn't even the worst thing that can happen in war. So what is? You're about to find out. Let's start with how he survived the initial hit. The Su-25's armored frame does offer real protection, but it's no match for a Russian Panzer S-1 surface-to-air missile. The missile struck. The aircraft went out of control. The Ukrainian pilot pulled the levers and ejected. By that time, he had already served nearly 20 years in tactical aviation, but nothing could prepare him for this. In emergency ejection mode, the parachute opens immediately. So from 5,200 meters, his descent took 1,040 seconds. That's nearly 17 minutes in the air, floating over enemy territory.
They started firing at me from the ground with a DSHK. I saw him. I even saw the Panzer that hit me.
Local villagers witnessed the entire drama with their own eyes. The full-scale invasion hadn't started yet, so they didn't understand what they were seeing. But despite the intense ground fire, the pilot landed uninjured. He quickly ditched his chute and slipped into the nearby woods, moments before a Russian search team reached the crash site.
They were close, several times. I saw them, but they never spotted me.
He spent several days surrounded by the enemy. Only on day 6 was he rescued by a Ukrainian Special Operations team. The details of that mission will never be revealed, because they'd expose Ukrainian SOF tactics. But what we do know, the rescue was anything but easy. By then, the pilot had just 3 bullets left. That's why he now flies with 2 sidearms, always. You might think this is where the story ends, but it's only the beginning. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion, the pilot was already a colonel and a senior flight inspector. And on day 1 of the war, he wasn't alone. He was with his son, who, on February 24th, flew his first combat mission. Before we tell you what happened next, hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people and keeps our team motivated to bring you these untold frontline stories. Thank you. Part 2. Father, Son, and the Su-25. The war began with missile strikes on Ukrainian air bases. The father, our colonel, was home. But his son?
My son ended up in hell, and I could only watch. From the other side of the city, I saw the airbase being bombed. I knew how to evade an airstrike. In theory, my son did it. For real.
It's important to note, no one can force a pilot into the air without the proper clearance for night flights in difficult weather. And the night of February 24th, 2022, it was exactly that. Pitch dark, low visibility, missiles exploding all around, and the runway itself was torn apart. You're now seeing the aftermath of that missile strike. But somehow, they pulled it off. The mission to save the jets succeeded. No one died. Every pilot made it out alive.
That day, my son stopped being just a boy. He stopped being just a serviceman and became a warrior.
From that moment, war became routine. The Su-25 isn't sleek or stealthy. It's not glamorous. It's a flying tank, a legend of ground attack aviation. When it swoops in low and rips across enemy trenches, Ukrainian infantry feels hope. Russian infantry? They feel terror.
The Su-25 showed it's capable of way more than what's written in the manual.
In the early days of the war, when front lines were shifting fast, Su-25s struck trenches, dugouts, bunkers, armored vehicles, and enemy infantry. Beyond close air support, Ukrainian Su-25s also hit fuel convoys, ammo depots, field supply columns, and vehicles on the move. Didn't have combat clearance. Why? Because he was training new pilots, getting them ready, and sending them forward while preparing the next group. And let's be honest, training combat aviators is no less important than fighting. That's why command refused to send him into battle. Still, for this man, it wasn't enough.
Мені потрібно було пройти певний шлях через
I had to push through the chain of command just to get deployed. I couldn't accept sitting in the rear while my son was out there fighting.
What would you do in his place? Drop your answer in the comments. Eventually, he got the clearance. And when he did, the father began flying in the same squadron as his son. By then, his son had already been honored. He had destroyed over 20 Russian tanks, more than 50 armored fighting vehicles, 55 transport trucks, 20 fuel tankers, and hundreds of Russian soldiers and officers. That's not a typical father-son story. This isn't LeBron and Bronny. This is war. But even so, they never flew in the same formation. And that makes sense. Because what if one of them gets shot down? How does the other keep going?
11 днів я зміг провоювати
I got to fly and fight alongside my son for 11 days. After that, he was gone.
A pilot's family isn't like others. Their kids don't become businessmen or bureaucrats. They become aviators. They learn to say goodbye from a young age. It's not just a choice, it's fate. Still, even with that mindset, losing a pilot is always a tragedy. It leaves a permanent wound in the hearts of those who survive. For a few minutes, they hoped maybe he ejected, maybe he lived. But then came the footage.
де його збивають.
This is the video of him being shot down. That's how he died.
The video shows a Ukrainian Su-25 flying dangerously low, just above the treetops. Below him, the enemy. In their hands, a small, deadly man-portable air defense system. It tracks heat. It flies fast, like a bullet, and it's coming for the engine. The pilot never sees where the shot came from. There's no warning, just a split second. Maybe 2, maybe 5. Even if he pulls the handle. Ejecting at such low altitude doesn't guarantee survival. The parachute doesn't have time to open. The pilot hits the ground and doesn't make it. Part 3. A different war. After his son was killed, the father went into mourning. But 40 days later, he returned to duty. Before every flight, he visits his son's grave, asking for a blessing and angelic protection. He believes his son is still with him, watching over him from above. He's still flying. But now, it's a different war, not the one he knew in 2022.
На даний час війна зовсім друга.
Right now, the war is completely different. It's incredibly tough. Multiple layers of enemy air defense, enemy aircraft. Every mission, it feels like a one-way flight.
The Su-25, while still a symbol of battlefield resilience, has serious limitations, especially in modern high-tech warfare. Most of Ukraine's Su-25 fleet dates back to the 1980s and 1990s. Some even flew in the Soviet War in Afghanistan. Let that sink in. The aircraft lacks its own radar, meaning pilots have zero awareness of nearby enemy fighters. And the standard weapons loadout? Classic Soviet-era ground attack gear, Kh-25 guided missiles, with a range of just 10 kilometers. Unguided rockets, unguided bombs. Most of these munitions are nearly depleted. Even the American-supplied Zuni rockets, while appreciated, were developed in the 1950s, hardly cutting edge. But now, that's changing.
Thanks to our partners, we now have highly accurate weapons. If we need to drop 250 kilograms of explosives into a window, we can. And we do it effectively.
What's he talking about? There is now visual proof that Ukrainian Su-25s have been integrated with French AASM Hammer munitions. The Hammer isn't a bomb itself, it's a modular guidance kit. You attach it to a standard high explosive bomb, and now you've got a precision-guided weapon. It can hit targets with extreme accuracy, even in poor weather and from standoff range, far outside enemy air defense zones. To launch it, the Su-25 needs to pitch its nose up at the correct angle. so pilots approach the target at low altitude, then pull up and release the bomb during the climb. Thanks to AASM Hammer, the work of Ukraine's Su-25 pilots has become more effective and far safer. But even the best weapon is worthless without the will to use it. And the greatest asset in Ukraine's Su-25 fleet is its pilots. Like the man in this story, despite his age, despite the pain, he's still flying, now fighting for two.
Little boy, thank you. Thank you for bringing me back. I saved you, and you saved me. Thank you.
This video is different from what we usually post. If you liked the format, tell us in the comments. If not, tell us why. Your feedback truly matters. Thanks for watching.